bumped out. It helped me get present and realize I wanted to try to do a little bit shorter show today. I'm going to change the filter real quick. If it'll let me. It's kind of freezing up a little bit, and that's okay. Let's do this one. I do love this filter. Okay, so getting back to the present, I just want to wrap up that and just remind you, take a deep breath. You can focus on the things around you. You can focus on me, if it's not too distracting. Better to close your eyes or just look around your room, focus on the things around you, and just, just be where you are. I did share in a different episode that it actually really does help me to think about time. And a lot of spiritual books will say it shouldn't, but it does for me. And what I do is I think about time like a story. And I think about my past. And like the past as in like, even yesterday. And I think about my future. I think about the things I have planned. I think of tomorrow, next week. And then I start to just kind of zoom in and narrow into right now. Like this is what I am in right now. Like today. Today is Friday. Yes, it's just a concept, a construct, the way we label time. But it helps me to kind of get really present and think about, okay, I'm in late March. I'm on a Friday. That helps me get present. And a lot of books will say that it shouldn't, but it does for me. So you can do that too, if that helps you. Okay, so that's getting present. And I'm going to around. And now we're going to do spiritual stuff. And I'm going to leave this filter on because, I don't know. I'm just feeling it. So I'm just going to talk for a minute about God. God as I understand God, capital G God. And all I wanted to say about that today is that you don't have to have any experience with God to turn to God right now. You can just think of it as a higher power or love. The creator of the universe. Lots of different cultures think of it that way. You could think of it as your breath, as spirit of life. What is that? What is this consciousness that we have? So if you can't get behind capital G, God, or you have too many wounds around that, or you have too many people who've tried to tell you what to do around that concept, let it go. I don't know. In terms of the feeling your feelings part of the show where I talked about creating and generating feelings, if that doesn't feel good for you to keep nursing that idea of other people feel this about God and I think this, and if that just makes you angry and negative, you can let that go. And I'm trying to learn this. I'm doing this show because I'm trying to teach myself what I need to learn. So if for you, God is like a spirit of life, like breath that we all share, or collective unconsciousness, like whatever God is for you, when I say God, if that doesn't mean anything to you, or it means something negative to you, you don't have to think about that. You can let that go. God could just be like floating upward, like flight, as opposed to sinking down into things that make you feel heavy. That's what it feels like to me. I believe in God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and all that, but I didn't for a long time. Or I did, and then I didn't, and then I did again. And then I didn't again, and then I did again. And I've had all kinds of complicated thoughts and feelings in the process because there have been so many people trying to tell me what to do and think and believe and feel. And for me, that's not helpful. So if you struggle with reality versus delusion, and the idea of God feels like delusion, then it doesn't have to be an idea for you. You don't have to live in the idea. And if you prefer reality, Like, who's to say what reality is? Like, am I in reality for you? Are you in reality for me? Like, I don't know. Is my happiness real? Is my sadness real? I can sometimes feel multiple feelings. I feel like 20 feelings in a day. Like, which one's more real if they're different than each other? One's real in this moment, the next one's real in another moment, the next one's real in another moment. Is it all real or is none of it real? Who makes you the expert on reality, right? What makes the dark parts of your mind the expert on reality? Who knows that that's more real? Why would that be more real? Why is darkness more real than floating away and feeling light and connecting with your breath and connecting with parts of yourself that, sorry, I'm enjoying the filter. Like, how is this not real? You're watching this show, but I kept calling it a pretend show. And then my sister pointed out, well, I'm watching it, and it's a show that I'm watching, so it's real. But I kept insisting it was a pretend show because it wasn't structured or scripted enough. Does that mean reality shows aren't real? Well, actually, they aren't. Some of them are pretty fake. But, like, you know, what's real? Why do we have to be authority figures on what's real? Like, I don't know. There are things that I believe, like in social scenes and all these other things. How do I know that my own beliefs are real? We're all sitting around believing in things. Believing in different, believing in so-and-so hurt me 20 years ago, and so I'm feeling X and Y instead of blah or blah. And it's like, when we believe that that's real, we don't know. You don't know. I believe those birds in my window are real. They're very cute. So, I guess I'm just thinking that when it comes to spiritual stuff, when it comes to God, I've had to learn to ask myself if depression or fear and anxiety have made me what I want to be. And if they haven't, if depression or anxiety or overwhelm haven't brought me what I thought they would bring me, which is like a sense of, like, not that you think they'll be good. I wrote a note to myself, tell about past months. I'm going to change the filter real quick. The past few months, have been very hard for me up until about a month ago. And basically some bad things happened back to back in the fall. And then I got really overwhelmed and I started getting really negative again and really depressed. And I talk about that because that relates to feelings creation, which I talked about earlier in the show, but it also relates to spirituality. In other words, it relates to reality. I started getting very depressed and negative, and then when I decided that that was a rabbit hole and I wanted to come out of it, I guess what I'm trying to say is one more reality than the other? I decided to pull myself out of it. I started watching spiritual shows again. I started reading some of my spiritual books again about a month ago, and I started to pull myself quickly this time out of some of that heaviness. And, a process that had taken me like years and years in the past was only taking me weeks, because I knew how to not believe in the stories I was telling myself, the negativity, the heaviness, the depression, the sadness, the overwhelm, the isolation, the discouragement, the depression, the nothing's going to work out, the this is what always happens to me, the victim mentality. Like, I just had started believing in it because of the bad things that were happening, and I forgot about my own personal power and agency to, like, pull myself back out of it by not believing in it. Like, the way to pull yourself out of some of those heavy places, and I don't do it by myself, like, I do it with my belief and with my faith and with my non-belief in that. Non-belief in believing that. That's the way to pull yourself out of it, is to stop believing in it. It's not real. It doesn't provide me any sort of basis for being useful in the world. It doesn't meet my needs. It doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't solve anything. It's just like digging into a rabbit hole, thereby making the rabbit hole deeper. And I love rabbits, and they should live there, but I shouldn't, I just kept making the hole deeper.